Yes.
Here. You seem
Hello.
like you have a lot of cool stories, so this is exciting.
Yeah.
So the basics, I think, like, first of all, like, for anyone who doesn't know, like, what is the Community Intervention Center? What kind
Okay.
of programs do you offer?
Yep.
Stuff like that.
We are a day shelter that deals with mental health and drug and alcohol population. We are open 7 days a week. We've been open even through COVID, 8 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. We deal with clients that are that live outside under bridges, abandoned buildings, under highway underpasses. And they can come to our agency, and we have laundry facilities, we have shower facilities, we have a bunch of computers. They can do Facebook with friends and family. We cook meals. I say we have showers. It's just for people that don't really have anything like any family or any stuff in their lives. They can come and kind of come into a safe environment, kind of away from drugs and alcohol. And if they need to get help, we can refer them to places like Scranton Counseling for mental health, DATS for drug and alcohol. So we're kind of like I always say, like, we're a linking agency. We're like a triage in a emergency room. Someone comes in with a horrible problem, and then we fix it, or try to, at least, and if we can't figure it out, we'll find out, So, we have, I should say, I'm a social worker. I went to university. I went to Marywood. I'm sorry, I didn't go to the U, but go U. I like you guys. I went to the University of Marywood for social work. Graduated in 1999, and where I did my internship, I got a job through the Community Intervention Center through a HUD program where they wanted someone to go out to the streets of Scranton, like a paid professional, and help the homeless kind of get back on their feet. And someone that went to school for mental health, or maybe not mental health, but at least knew a little bit about it, and kind of going out and getting the trust of the homeless population, and getting them into the shelters, trying to get them back on their meds, getting them hooked up with families. If they're eligible for Social Security, we could do stuff like that. So it's mostly our agency. I mean, it's like a lot of things. We're like a one-stop shop. We do everything. There's 7 of us that work there, and we see between like 80 and 120 people a day can come through our agency. So, and our agency is different than most other agencies. When you walk in our doors, we're just a big open room. So the clients are in your face, where some places you might go into and you have to get through a secretary first, and there's a glass. Well, not at our agency. So we want not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm just saying that, we want our agency to be kind of non-threatening for someone who's maybe off their meds or seeing things that aren't there, that they come in, it's more welcoming than kind of sterile or like medical facilities. We have neutral colors. We actually we'll do neutral, and we have some kind of flashy stuff in our room so we don't look like a hospital, So I sometimes time to ramble. So if that was trying to get back to CIC, but like I said, we do so much. I mean, we do rep payee services for homeless people and for people that maybe have their own rooms where the state may say they can get Social Security, but they aren't able to pay their bills. So the check would come to one of our coworkers, Michelle, and then she would write the checks out to landlords and stuff. So at the end of the month, at least the client has housing, food on the table, and clothing. So that's kind of a huge program we have. Through the University of Scranton, we get lots and lots and lots of stuff. Right now we have the little kits you got that Amy brought over for the clients to do, where they're not. They used to be able to do puzzles in our day room, but with COVID now, we want them to they have to be able to do stuff with themselves. Where it's only maybe 2 coloring pencils, and they can do some stuff to because this is really stressful for our clients. You know, most of us don't think of that. You know what I mean? We go home, we go to our dorm, we go to our parents' house, we go to our houses, and we don't think about the homeless. If we don't see them, we don't think about them, but they're out there. Every bridge you drive over in Scranton, there's homeless people living under it. Believe me. So next time you're going over Harrison Ave, or you're going over the one off the expressway, people live under that bridge. And when it's raining out, and when it's 100 out, or when it's 20 out, those people are still there. So, I always tell people, just take a thought of that, that there are people out there that don't live like us, you know what I mean? That have alcohol issues, mental health issues, alcohol and mental health issues. And they're people too, we're starting to get the medical students are coming now to our facility. They have to do so many hours, and these are going to be doctors. And it's great because we get to teach them and show them that these people coming to their emergency rooms are not just pill poppers. They just want to be taken care of. They have aches and pains. They're not just always seeking, pills for pain. These are people that they could be mothers, they could be fathers, they could be daughters, they are. We have people, our agency serves people from 18 to, I think the oldest person we have was like 87 years old. So it's a really, a big range. So, excuse me. I think like we do it all. So,
Well, that's.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. That's incredible.
Okay. Yep.
You mentioned COVID. How has
Yes.
it impacted the way CIC operates, and how has that affected all of the clients who regularly attend?
Well, we have now cleaning schedules. Every hour we shut the agency down, and every client in the day room has to we have bleach, and they have to bleach their tables, they have to bleach their chairs. We bleach doorknobs, we have to bleach, we give free coffee out to the clients. Even the coffee pots are bleached, the handles, anything anyone could touch. When they come in the building, they have to wear a mask, So in the beginning, that's a little tough for someone. And these are people that don't like to be told things. They don't like to be told when to go to bed or what they have to do. So when you tell them they have to wear a mask, they don't like that. But they're starting to recognize and realize that, this is no joke. And, COVID, affects our clients more than, say, students. Not saying it's good or bad, but my clients are people that have never been. I have a guy now in my housing program that probably hasn't seen a doctor in 30 years. And about 2 months ago, he was having trouble breathing, and he had like conjunctive, he had a heart condition. And if he was living outside, he probably would have died. Like the doctor said, you need to change your ways. You need to quit smoking. You need to do exercise. And these are the clients that we deal with, and these are the clients that if they do get COVID, it could be a real issue. So, we're pretty, we are very on top of when people come in. We have a thermometer. They get thermometered, a laser thermometer on their forehead if they have a temperature, and we've been very lucky. We haven't had any cases that we know of. So, but it has just been. I've ruined probably 10 shirts, 2 pairs of shoes because of bleach. So, I come home and I'm clean, but I smell I have no fingertips, and we have garbage cans that, when the clients eat and stuff, they throw out. And when you have no fingertips from bleach and you try to open up a garbage bag and you can't, that's frustrating. Like that really frustrates me. So I'll get one of the clients and I'm like, please do this because I can't get it open. So those are like my daily struggles with COVID, no fingertips because of bleach. But like I said, we have been, combating the best we can, because we can't shut down because our agency is the only agency, like where do homeless people go? Us, we can go to homes, we can go to our parents' house, we can go stuff, we can quarantine for 14 days. But when you're under a bridge, where are you going to go? And if you're with a group of people, we have groups that are 10, 12 people that sleep together, so if one person gets sick, they all get sick. So, we can't shut down. So, that's also very stressful, For me, I have elderly parents. You know, I have parents in their 80s, and I think, you know, I don't go see them a lot. You know, when I go to their house, I wear a mask. You know, and in the beginning, it kind of freaked me out. You know, I'm like, you know, what happens if I gave my mother COVID and she died? You know, or my father, and you know, and my parents are just like, you know, you got to live your life. You know, we've lived a great life. You know, we've been retired for, you know, 15 years. We've traveled and done what we want to do. Just worry about yourself. I called my mother every single day, a couple times a day. I FaceTime her all the time. She FaceTimes me with stupid questions. Yesterday, she somehow had the TV set where it would talk to her when she dial a number. Like if she put on News 22, it would say News 22. And I'm trying to explain it to her, like I can't come over and just like in the old days, I could go over and just go like go drive to the house, go in there, and then do it. But I can't now, so that's frustrating too. And a lot of the clients, you know, they can't, you know, they're doing meetings now through Zoom and tele things, but in the beginning they weren't. Everything was shut down, and we were the only people open. So you had clients that were coming in that, you know, I mean, if you didn't have meds, we could get you meds. But I mean, there was other issues that couldn't get fixed that time or that minute. And a lot of the times our clients are, they want it done now. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes some of our clients can be very, uh, I don't know, wanty or needy. I mean, but they're homeless. So, I mean, that's another thing. Like you just have, they're just a totally different breed of person, working with the homeless, you know, working with the elderly, working with people in a hospital settings. It's all different. So, you know, for me as a social worker, I only know homeless. You know what I mean? And when I used to go to meetings and talk to other social workers, I kind of really didn't fit in, you know, because I would be like, they'd be talking medical stuff because a lot of them went to the hospitals, like a lot of people from my class. And I was like, oh, that's great, but I don't know what you're talking about because they all talk in code. You know, oh, the client with the XP7, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, yes, you know, medical stuff, but you know, you know, I had a client I took to the doctors the other day, and I'm like, I'm a social worker, but not a medical social worker. Can you dumb it down just a little bit? You know, because, you know, they're talking back and forth in medical terms, and I was like, if I wasn't there, you know, for my client to advocate for them, the client would just have sat there and wouldn't have asked any questions. And that's another thing. Like you can't be afraid to hurt someone's feelings. I've told doctors, like, you know, I've interrupted them, I've made them uncomfortable, you know, not meaning that, but if you don't advocate for your client, you know, who is? Especially when you're working with my type of client where they don't have anybody. Their family doesn't want them, their children don't want them, and sometimes society doesn't want them. And my job is to kind of, you know, switch that off to be like, you know, they're homeless people, you know, they are human, you know, they could be your daughter, they could be your mother, they could be your father, they could be your uncle, you know, they could be family. And you know, i have I have friends, and they always, I'll be in a group and someone will say something about a homeless person and I'm just like, what? Not to be rude, but I'm just like, you know, okay, ha ha ha, but do you know, and I'll explain, you know, why I thought that was wrong. I'm not saying that I'm an uppity person and I correct everybody, but people don't realize some things about homeless people. Like they make fun of homeless people. Oh, look at the bag person. You know, oh, he's got ripped jeans. Oh, he peed himself. You know, but these people have issues. So you have to be compassionate. I mean, my job, I have to be compassionate. I have to be stern. I have to tell people that, you know, you can't come in. You know, you have a temperature. You can't come in the agency. You know, and it's cold outside. You can't come in because I don't know if you have COVID. And that's another thing. You know, I mean, there's protocols for that. They're not going to be left outside. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong there. But you know, there's people I've worked for you know 10 years that as homeless clients, and they did so well, and then one day they went on a binge and died. And that's the other thing. I've had hundreds of clients die, you know, and I don't take it personal. I don't take, and that's the other thing. I don't take anything home. I try not to, because once you take something home and you stir and you think about it, oh, Joe, if I only could have done that with Joe, if I only could have called that extra rehab and got him in, you know, he would be alive today. You have to sometimes say, I did what I could do and I did my best, and I'm okay with that. Um, and it's with clients. I have families call all the time. I mean, once a week I get a family member call and say, I have this kid. I don't know what to do. He's stealing from me. You know, he's homeless. He lives in his car. He comes to my house. He steals from me. I say, kick him out. And they're like, oh, I can't, I could never kick my child out. I said, well, then he's going to keep stealing. I mean, I'm very honest. I don't sugarcoat anything. I've always been like that. My father always taught me, don't, you know, if you're going to be a social worker, be a good one and be honest. Don't ever lie to somebody. Tell them honestly. If I have a client that is dying, I'm going to tell them you're dying. You know, I'm not going to say, well, you know, the doctor said maybe if you quit drinking, you'll live. You know, I'm going to tell them the truth. If you don't quit, you're going to die. And a lot of clients don't want to hear that, but I've had clients that I've kicked out of the agency because of drugs and alcohol, or maybe violence, or violence. No, violence is a word, but violence. And I've had not all the time, but I've had a handful of clients more come in and say, you know what, Jason, that was the best thing you've ever done, was throw me out of the CIC. Because then I realized if once I get kicked out of CIC, I have nothing. And we deal with clients that are kicked out of the soup kitchen, kicked out of the mall, kicked out of every social service agency in Scranton, and we get them, you know? So, you know, we service everybody, but if you are a bad person and you can't get along with other clients, sometimes you may be kicked out of CIC. And it may not be forever, but it may be for a month or a week or a day or two. And just to say, hey, you know, we're here for you, but you're not going to come in our agency drunk and start a fight or throw things or be mean to somebody, you know, because you're high or you're drunk or you had a bad day. We're sorry for that, but, you know, you're in here with, you know, 25 other people, you know, and you have to consider their fears and whatever they think. We have clients that are off their meds. I had a client 2 days ago that thought he was like a pink elephant, you know what I mean? And he was chipped by the FBI, you know, and that's all. And when you're talking to him, you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is like a CIA thing. No, he's got a mental health problem, you know what I mean? Or he's got a schizophrenia, or he sees things, or he hears things. So, you know, and you know, I see interns when we used to have, before COVID hit, we'd have interns come. A lot of them come from the University of Scranton. So if any of you guys, once this is done, you're welcome to get an intern. If you'd like to see or come visit, I'll give you a tour. And, you know, to see clients off their meds or having a bad day. I mean, I've had clients in here spitting in my face, like talking, screaming at me. And it's, oh, I'm sorry you're having a bad day today, but you have to leave. Or is there something I'm doing wrong? And there's some clients that I maybe can't not handle, but some clients maybe don't like me. And I think everyone loves me, but obviously there's a few clients. So whatever, if there's someone that doesn't like me, they can go to somebody else in our agency. And that's the other thing. You can't take pride that, you know, oh, I've been here 23 years, 22 years. I'm the super social worker, you know, social worker of the year. I do have a plaque about that, though. Social worker of the year from the University from Marywood a couple of years ago. Yeah, well, thank you.
How do you stay motivated when you have such a high stress environment?
I think it's my ADHD or something, because I mean, I am always going. I mean, everyone, all my staff looks at me and goes, Jason, would you just stop, slow down? I'm like, no. And I'm whistling, you know. I love to cook. I cook for the clients. We have like afternoon ice cream sundaes at the CIC. I'm very good at making like really good sundaes. Yesterday we melted fresh chocolate, so we had vanilla, whipped cream, and fresh chocolate, and the clients like that, and they appreciate it, you know. So, I mean, it's tough. I don't really know. I mean, you have to have a positive attitude, you know, for this job, and I just tell myself that, you know, if I have a bad day, it can't get any worse than my worst day I've ever had at work. Now I've been punched in the face. I've had chairs thrown at me. So I'm like, if someone just cursed at me or yelled at me and say they didn't like me, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, well, at least I didn't get punched today, you know? So that's good. Or I didn't. So him calling me an a-hole or an F-head, I'm okay with, you know? and you have to be, you don't have to be serious all the time. And I'm not, as you can tell, I'm not serious. I try not to be serious because I want the clients to feel comfortable in our agency. You know, I would never come in, you know, with the suit like I did the first day. One thing, they'd laugh me out of the agency. You know, I carry like my girlfriend calls it, she wants to get me a man bag. And I told her, no, no. We went to Coach last year and she was going to get me this nice Coach man bag. And I said, no way in heck. I said, my clients will laugh me out of the agency. There's no way I'm wearing one. So I wear, like, I think it might, I don't know if it's from you guys. You may have donated them, those string backpacks. I just wear one of those, you know, and I'm happy. And, you know, I don't, you know, I don't try to be flashy or, you know, or anything like that. You know, I just want to make people happy, you know, as much as I can, you know, in my field, you know?
Well, that's actually my next question, is that there's obviously a lot of challenges to your job, but what's the best part about it? Like, what's the most fulfilling aspect of your work?
Finding someone under the bridge, you know, that is, you know, in need, and getting them into the shelter, and then getting them in the shelter, and then getting them into I should have said it from the beginning, we have a permanent supportive housing program that is run through HUD, that we have 26 apartments, and it's taking people that are right off the streets, under a bridge, abandoned buildings, and we actually put them into an apartment. And they have their own apartment. HUD, we pay everything. So they pay the rent. We buy everything from toilet paper to toothbrush to utensils, bedding, everything. And to see someone that has been, you know, sleeping on the ground for years and years and years, and now to get their own place, that gives me joy, you know. Or see someone smile because I made a joke, or I almost tripped going into the agency and someone laughed. You know, I'm okay with that. I could be the butt of jokes. That doesn't bother me. You know, I could care less. But if it makes someone laugh and forget that they're homeless for that little bit, I'm okay with, you know. And that's how I've lived my life. You know, I try to crack jokes. You know, I'm always talking with clients. I don't sit behind a desk. I have a little desk that everyone shares and steals my pens, you know. So you know, at our agency, we're always kind of out there with the clients, you know. So I'm just used to that. Like when I go to you and talk, I don't like talking behind the podiums. I like to be out and talking with the people. I use my hands a lot too. I don't know, but that's what they say. I use my hands a lot, but you know, I don't know. Maybe the way I grew up. I don't know.
Right. Well, you have a lot of interactions with your clients because of the way that you do your job. You're not behind a desk or a window or anything like that. What's one of the best memories that you've had at the CIC?
I had, when I was thinking about this too. I had a client that when I first started in '97, I did my first internship at the CIC, and there was this lady named Michelle, and she was like the badass of CIC, and that is, she was probably like 62, one of the biggest alcoholics you'd ever know. She had a distended liver, and she had a stroke. She would talk like this, but she would always curse at me. So, and she would say, "What do you know, Jason? You're just a boy." And she would curse at me and stuff. And I'm not trying to make fun of her, but I'm just saying, because I would, half the time I wouldn't know what she was saying, but I was so scared of her. And my director said, you know, this is what is going to make you a better social worker. And I was with her, probably working with her for 1 year. And from her living on the streets, we got her on Social Security. We got her into Scranton housing. And she lived for about 3 years in public housing. And then she finally died of liver disease. But I mean, oh, the best client. Like, she would crack jokes, but because she had the stroke, she looked so mean, and she would just jab at me because I was such a young kid. Like, I was really skinny. Now I got a little weight on me, and oh my gosh. And I thought, like, that was you know, that was my first ever client I really had. Like my director said, this is your client. You're going to start to finish and see what you can do. And I got her housing, and nobody ever thought I could, you know, not that, but she was such a hard client. Like she didn't trust anybody. She was, you know, her boyfriends would beat her up, and she would just get drunk at a camp, and they would just leave her there. You know, she'd fall over and she'd be bleeding from the head. And I go, at the time I would go out to the camps, and she'd be bleeding from the head, and I'd be like, what's, her name wasn't that, I'm just saying another name, you know what I mean, because of HIPAA and stuff. But you know, we got to know each other, and you know, it was kind of sad that when she passed away, but it, you know, I learned a lot, you know, and I can still picture her and stuff. And she was, I mean, I'm 5'11", she was 5'10", so you can imagine like a little skinny guy like me that, and I'm gonna save the world, because that's all us social workers, we first get in the field, we're gonna save everybody. No one's gonna fall through the cracks on our job. And she rang me through the ringer a few times. But, you know, I'm just so thankful for her that, you know, she kind of taught me. And I had another client that kind of, when I was doing outreach, going into the streets, when I started doing outreach, that kind of took me under his wing and kind of showed me. And he would, you know, we would go out of the camps. And when I first started doing that, my mother was like, you're going to get screwdrived or something. They have knives, and you better carry mace. And I'm like, I can't carry mace. You know what I mean? What will they think? So he kind of like brought me out and showed me and said, this is the guy from CIC. If you need anything, he is the one that is going to help you. And he always taught me, don't promise something you can't like do. So if you say you're going to come back tomorrow at 2:00, you better be there at 2:00. And if you said you're going to bring them underwear, socks, and whatever, you better be there. Because if you don't, that client may only give you one chance. And after that, you're done. And that's another big thing. Like, our clients don't trust people because they just had crappy lives, you know. They, because of mental health issues or family issues. And, you know, you have to be honest. And like I said, you got to speak from the heart and just, you know, tell them. You know, you don't want to tell them what they want to hear, but you want to tell them what they need to hear. And like today, we had a client that we've been trying as a young kid. And I've known him probably about 8 years. And he was 18 when he came to our agency, and now he's doing meth. So he came from a really good family, very wealthy, went to a very good school, and got hooked on drugs, was stealing from the parents. Parents threw him out. And, he is at the point now where he's either going to die or he's going to go to jail. And we had a big talk with him today, like outside. We're very formal. Like, we'll go outside and talk to the clients while they're all smoking. You know what I mean? Just sit down and have a conversation, because that's the best time and best thing to get information, or to have like, hey, how's it going today? Having a good day? Well, you know, like how we've been going on him for about a year. And it's getting bad now. He's lost pretty much all of his teeth from using drugs. One good thing, he's never been arrested. And he tells me some wild stories. He was in Wilkes-Barre about 3 months ago, saw someone get shot and killed. You know, he was hanging in the bad places looking for drugs, you know. And I said to him, I said, Joe, you know, I said, you know, you could die. Like, you're at the point now, you've lost. So you can see his, like, he wears, like, you can see his ribs, like he's, you know, and that's the thing, you know, like when you say like, how do you do this job? And, you know, and I don't want to say most likely he'll die, but if he doesn't do something now, he will die. And he'll be someone that maybe next week, tomorrow, next year, he won't be around. And, you know, all the things that I do, my director done, my coworker Troy is a social worker. We've all tried talking to him, and he just likes to get high. And I tell him, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's killing you. You know what I mean? Like, I try to be like, it's okay. I'm not saying it, you know, I know drugs are bad, but in their head, they're not, you know. They just get them into that place where they want to be, and they're happy, and they forget about their problems, but they don't realize that they're killing themselves. You know, we have clients that also, I have my hardcore homeless that have been outside for 30 years. And, when they were in their 20s, they could drink for weeks on end. But now when they go on a bender for 2 or 3 days, they're sick for a week. And I try to tell these guys and ladies that you're not spring chickens anymore. Like, you need to stop, and I try to tell them, like, I've been around for 20 plus years. Like, I'm not just blowing smoke out your butt. I'm trying to, I've been there. I've seen people die. I've touched dead people. I had a story, God, probably 15 years ago. We had a client used to live up by the stadium, up by the railroad tracks. And one day I'm working, and a client comes down and goes, Fred's not, I went to Fred's camp. He's not moving. And so we had to drive up there, and it took about an hour because he lived on a back trail way up by Montage. And when I got there, he was all wrapped up in his blanket, and I was like poking him, like, "Hey, are you okay?" And he wasn't moving. And then, I lifted the thing, and he was dead. So I had to call the police, and the guy was like 300 pounds. So to get someone 300 pounds out of the woods, they had to use the trolley. I'm not laughing. You have to have a sixth sense of humor sometimes when you deal with death. And maybe I'm good at that. So you may think, oh my God, that's terrible. Why would you laugh? But that's maybe a coping mechanism I use when I see dead people, and I have seen dead people. They had to put them on the trolley to bring them down to the road so they could get them out. I have one more story I'll tell you. I had a client that we had in our housing program, and he lived in a 3-bedroom apartment. And my client, another agency had a client on the first floor, and ours was second floor. And I got a call from my client like 10 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, Bill's not waking up, So I'm like, okay, I'll go over to, he's probably drunk again. And I walk over, and my client's sleeping in his bed, peed himself because they drank all night. So you can imagine what that smelled like at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's summertime. It's like 96 degrees out. And I go in the other room, and this guy's laying down, and he's green. And I'm like, so I wake my client up, and I'm going, what were you guys drinking last night? Like, he's like green. And I said, and I started like poking him again. And I poked another dead person. I was like, oh man. So I had to call I was there for 6 hours. The police came, the county crime scene guy came to make sure that my client didn't kill him. But that was another experience, to sit there and knowing that you touched a dead person, or poked a dead person, and to see a dead person, if that didn't make me quit my job, I think I'm okay. I've had, I've had some messy incidences at work where I've had to shower off people that have, defecated on themselves. I've had to unplug toilets at our agency. Like, I'm not just a social worker. I'm a plumber, a cook, a referee. At least at my agency, I don't have one hat. We have many hats. And maybe that's another thing why I haven't burnt out yet, knock on wood, that I'm always doing something different. I'm working with clients, but I'm plunging a toilet, or I'm working with clients and I'm cooking food, or I'm working with clients and we're watching a movie, or we're putting a puzzle together. You know what I mean? So those are some of the stories, some good, some bad,
Well, I definitely think those are, so inspiring, especially to a group of young people like us who go to a Jesuit university that are really interested in service. So I guess my last question before we open the floor up for everyone else to ask questions is, what advice would you have for us, or for anyone who's interested in going into social work like you have with the homeless?
I mean, I would love everyone to go into the field. I have a joke, like, if you're going to be a social worker, you better marry up, because we don't make any money. So, every class I go to, that's like my go-to joke, so that's my go-to joke now. So, I just say you got to marry up. No, I mean, we don't have a lot of people like for homelessness that want to be homeless, because it's a tough job. I mean, I would say if you want, like they say, like the Army, if you want something, exciting and something different, and you can handle smells, you got to be able to handle smells, then you should become a social worker at our agency. Always be honest with yourself. I always tell people, if you have not a phobia, but try to do something that makes you uncomfortable. If it's speaking in front of somebody or speaking with people, go somewhere and start talking to people. If you're walking, I mean, this is after COVID, or with your mask on, 6 feet distance, of course, only, talk to someone you've never talked to before. You may find out you have something in common, or you might find a new friend, but you need to, broaden your horizons, listen to your teachers a little, listen to them. They teach you, because everything's from a book, um, get as much internship as you can. And if you can get in, say you want to be a medical social worker. Okay, you're going to work there, but maybe try to get, if you have to do your 20 hours or 30 hours, get it at a different agency. Try to get as much life experience as you can. Because I've known lots of people I went to school with, and they hate their job. I'm like, well, why did you go do it? Well, I don't know. That's where I went. I started here and I went to here. I said, well, when you did your internship, did you go anywhere else? No. I said, well, take the path less traveled, or whatever they say. Take the fork in the road. Do something that, makes you happy, but also gives you a challenge. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to better yourself, or, give more confidence to yourself. But don't, I'm not saying, like, don't be timid. If you're I don't know you guys from Adam. I'm sure you're all wonderful people. But if you're a little shy, try to get out of yourself and meet somebody, talk to somebody. You're walking down the street, you see a homeless person, say hello. You don't have to have a crazy conversation with them. Or, I'm not saying if you want to be like at my agency, but if you want to be a social worker in general, try to learn as much as you can from many different things. That's what I would say. And it'll make you such a better, more person in life, and make you a well-rounded social worker, So that's what I would say.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Jason. Thanks for answering our questions.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well,
And
sure.
if anybody has any questions, please, I love them.